So for today, we're going to talk about religion and philosophy in Japan, specifically the Shintoism and the Zen Buddhism. So in the end of this discussion, you are expected to recall the existing religion and philosophy in Japan, differentiate Shintoism and Zen Buddhism, and lastly, apply teaching and philosophy of Shintoism and Zen Buddhism in your daily life. So now, let us first talk about on what is Shintoism. So the word Shinto comes from the written Chinese kanji of Shen, meaning divine spirit, and Tao, meaning way. So with that, we will be able to form the meaning way of spirits. However, in some of the readings, the word Shen can be also translated to gods or to deity. Moreover, Shinto is a distinct religion, but Japanese people don't tend to think of it as a religion. They more think of it as a way of life than it is about explaining the world. So its followers often regard Shintoism as Japan's indigenous religion and as a nature religion. So Shinto also involves purification rites and customs to overcome the polluting effect of death and decay. However, Shintoism does not espouse a moral code. It also lacks religious scriptures and it does not conceive of a life after death.
A pleasant day, everyone. I am Davi Grace Espadillana, the discussant of the history of Shintoism. Shintoism is the oldest surviving and widely practiced religion in Japan that began approximately 1000 BCE. But unlike to any other religion, the Shintoism have no clear origin story nor who established it. The prehistoric animist of Japan is considered to be the founders of the Shintoism, but not as a religion, rather as a practice, and believes that all natural beings such as plants, animals, rocks, thunders, places, and even people possess a spirit that they called kami. The Shintoism appears to evolve out of all different cultural practices of Japan. It was early adaptation of the Shinto beliefs conceived from 300 BCE to 300 CE. It emerged in the period of the Yayoi culture. The Yayoi people are the ancient ethnicity that migrated in the Japanese archipelago from Korea and China. So unsurprisingly, the Chinese have a huge influence in the Shintoism, such as in the sacred text of the Shintoism, which is the Kojiki. It was written in Chinese. Later on, it was formally established by the Yamato clan, and in 1871, Shinto was declared as the Japanese natural religion and ordered that the Shinto shrine would be the place for the worshipping. The Shintoism is considered the largest religion in Japan as practiced by the 80% of the Japanese population. However, only a small percentage of the Japanese people considered or identified themselves as a Shintoist. So most of the Japanese people attend Shinto shrine and pray into kami without really considering themselves to be belong in the institutional Shinto religion. So that's why most of the Japanese people classify it as a way of life rather than as a religion.
Now, let's proceed to the Shintoism sacred text. There are two holy books of Shinto. First is the Kojiki, or Record of Ancient Matters. It is a book for ceremonies, customs, divination, and the magical practices of ancient Japan. The Kojiki is most celebrated for its description of the age of the gods, when the world and Japanese island were created, and the god ruled before withdrawing to leave the humanity to rule itself. It is quite similar to the Bible, specifically in the Genesis, which include the creation. In Shintoism, it is centered in the creation of the Japanese islands. The story of its creation features the activities of Izanagi and Izanami, a god and goddess who created the Japanese island out of chaos. In Shintoism, they recognizes both female and male principle or element in creation. The second book is Nihongi, or Chronicles of Japan. The Nihon Shoki of or Nihongi was a sequel of sort to the Kojiki, the book compiled in 1712 Common Era by the court scholar named Ono Yasumaru. It also described the methodology of the Shinto gods and the creation of the world. It is not necessarily an accurate historical record because the Kojiki was principally commissioned to establish a clear line of from the ruling emperors back to the Shinto gods. The Nihon Shoki was designed to address some of the discrepancies and its predecessor to reassert the genealogies of some of the clans who neglected in the Kojiki. It therefore repeats many of the myths of the Kojiki, but often from a different viewpoints and with changes in details. Generally, these two books are the compilation of ancient myths and traditional teaching that had previously been passed down orally. Let's come up with their rituals and beliefs. The overriding belief in Shinto is to promote harmony and purity in all aspects of life. Humans are taught of as being fundamentally good and evil is caused by evil spirits. The purpose of Shinto, therefore, is to pray and offer for the kami to keep away evil spirits. Shinto followers can worship in shared public shrines. However, many choose to do so in their own homes and set up own shrines. These shrines are called kamidana. It is a shelf in which people place offering to the kami. Kamidana is an altar for them. There are Buddhist figure or what we call the Butatsu or enlightened beings worshipped by Shinto. Three of these figures include Amida, or ruler of the Pure Land, or what we know as heaven. Next is Kanon, protector of children, women in childbirth, and dead souls. Lastly is Jiso, protector of people suffering pain and the souls of dead children. Visiting shrines, purification, reciting prayers, and giving offerings are essential practices for Shinto. Funerals do not take place in Shinto shrine, as dead is considered impure. They also have Shinto wedding ceremony. Ancient Japan, Shinto and Buddhism became closely intertwined and coexist to this day.
And I will going to discuss the core values of Shintoism. The core teaching of Shintoism is to worship the ancestor and the forces of the nature to achieve the harmony in all dimensions, and it has a 5 core values. First is the purity or the hare. In Shintoism, believe that we all born naturally pure, but later in our life we encounter impurity or the kegare, which are the badness, impurity, or sin. This notion of purity is present in many facets of Japanese culture, such as the focus of bathing as a way of getting rid of the impurity. This not only refers to physical cleanliness but also in our energy, and it is addressed through the rituals of the purification. Next is the Makoto, or the sincerity. In this concept of Shintoism, it does not have rules nor codes, but simply means sincerity of the heart, regardless of all the good deeds that we have done or follow, even if other religion, if it is not sincere, then it is nonsense. You are just being hypocrite in doing it. Next is the harmony with nature. Since the kami are present in nature or even the nature itself, it is indeed important to respect them. This belief causes the Japanese people to show utmost care and love for the nature, celebrate and appreciate all the life within it, such as the festival of the cherry blossom. And speaking of the festival, number 4 is the Matsuri, or the festival. The word Matsuri can refer to any occasion for offering gratitude and praise to kami at a Shinto shrine. The Matsuri is believed to be the central act of Shinto worship because when there is a festival, it brings the community together and unite them to pray to their kami to bring good fortune. Example is the spring festival, which they pray to their kami for a good harvest. Next is the winter festival. In the winter festival, they pray to their kami to welcome the spring, expelling the evil and calling in a good influence for the future. And lastly, number 5, focus on here now. So Shinto strictly focus on the present and a celebration of what we know and what we have right now. A lot of us neglect the present because we are either too busy preparing for the future or cannot move on to our past. So in this core value, it teaches us to appreciate the present, the right moment right now, and to make most of it. So to summarize it all, the Shintoism is a optimistic faith that teaches us to respect not only the human but also the nature as a way of worshiping the kami. So that's all. Thank you for listening.
So now, let us proceed with the places of worship in Shintoism. So, Shinto shrines are also known as jinja. These are their places of worship and the homes of kami, and that most shrines celebrate festivals, which is called Matsuri. They celebrate this regularly in order to show the kami the outside world, and that the priests in Shintoism um, perform Shinto rituals and often live on shrine grounds, and that both the women and men can become priests and they are allowed to marry and have children. So the priest in Shintoism is aided by a younger woman, and they called it Miko. The Miko aided priests during rituals and shrine tasks, and that the Miko should wear white kimono and must be unmarried. So the Miko are often the priest daughters in Shintoism, and that we need to note that not all shrines are in Shintoism are buildings. They can be also a rock or a trees and mountains if they are considered special to kami. So Japanese people will often visit um, local shrines when they want the local kami to bless them with good fortune, such as a good exam result. So now that we know all of this, or all of the facts that we need to know about Shintoism, let us now know on what is Shintoism today. So now people seek support from Shintoism by praying at their home altar or by visiting their local shrines. So a whole range of talismans are available at shrines for traffic safety, for good health, success in business, childbirth, or even good exam performance. So many wedding ceremonies are also held in Shinto style that still is considered a source of impurity and is left to Buddhism to deal with.
Good day, everyone. My name is Itin Chi Galyard Bocalan. So today I'm going to discuss Zen Buddhism. So, what is Zen Buddhism? Zen Buddhism, or simply means Zen, is a mixture of Indian Mahayana Buddhism and Taoism. So Mahayana is one of the two major traditions of Buddhism now practiced in a variety of forms, especially in China, Tibet, Japan, and Korea in the West from the mid-century. The word Zen is the Japanese pronunciation of Chinese Chaan, which means meditation, and the word Shan arrived in the Japan in the 18th century and became Zen. So today, the word Zen is more generally used in the West. As I have said earlier, Zen Buddhism began in China, spread to Korea and Japan, and became very popular by mid-20th century. So Zen Buddhism become really popular in the West, and the essence of Zen Buddhism is an endeavor to immediately comprehend the meaning of existence without being led astray by logical thought or language. Also, Zen Buddhism appears to be paradoxical because it necessitates a high level of discipline where properly practiced. As a result, total spontaneity and ultimate freedom attained. Zen Buddhism is simply determined, uncompromising, to the point meditation-based Buddhism that uninterested in doctrinal refinement. They don't rely on sculptures, doctrines, or rituals. So Zen is verified by personal experience and is passed on from master to disciple hand to hand, and ineffably through hard, intimate training. Though Zen recognizes, at least loosely, the validity of normative Buddhism scriptures, it has created its own text over generations. So the picture attached above is Zen Buddhism's one of the texts that they created over generations. Much of classical Zen literature is built on legendary anecdotes of a great masters, liberally flavored with Taoism, Confucianism, and Chinese poetry, and written in informal languages studied with Chinese folk sayings and street slang. There are four major Zen DICTUMS, which is illustrated by Bodhidharma, which is the Zen legendary founder, which is always quoted to illustrate the essential Zen spirit. So number one is, outside of the scriptures, there are some unique translations. The second one is no reliance on words and letters. The third one is directing attentions to the human mind. And lastly, seeing into one's own nature is a form of Buddhahood. So this free-spirited Zen spirit appeals to the Western mind, particularly the American mind, which is iconoclastic and anti-authoritarian as it is religious. Also, it has appealed over many generations to million Buddhist practitioners in the Far East who, conditioned by Taoism and Confucianism that had been imported everywhere from China, could relate to the Zen message and style.
Good day everyone, I'm Marvelyn Carolino, the next reporter, and we are now on the methods of Zen practice. Although Zen Buddhism eventually developed traditions of study and ritual, its emphasis on personal experience has always made it a practice-oriented tradition. The practice is called meditation. Sitting Zen, or also known as Zazen in Japanese, has always been central in Zen training centers, where monks rise early each morning for meditation practice and do long retreats consisting of many silent and moving hours on the cushion. Zazen, which literally means sitting Zen or sitting meditation, is an intensely simple practice. It is generally taught without steps, stages, or frills. Of the many ways to practice Zen Buddhism, perhaps the most iconic is Zazen, which literally means sitting Zen, but is often referred to as Zen meditation. In Zazen, practitioners sit on a cushion in a formalized posture with a straight back, eyes half open, and legs crossed onto the opposite thigh in what is called the full lotus position. Zazen is often taught as a goalless practice in which there is nothing to achieve. Just sitting is in itself an expression of an already awakened mind. Dogen, a founder of the Soto school of Japanese Zen in the 13th century, believed that a person practicing Zazen is in that moment the Buddha himself, because the very act of sitting manifests the enlightenment mind that is who we really are. Others believe that Zen has a distinct goal, that is, awakening, and not direct effort is the only way to attain. In the Rinzai school of Japanese Zen, practice may focus on answering koans. Koans are enigmatic paradoxical questions or statements about reality that cannot be understood with the conceptual mind. Zen students may engage with these conundrums as part of a set curriculum that includes such well-known koans as, what is the sound of hand clapping? Guided by a teacher, the practitioner moves through stages of realization. A koan is ultimately about the practitioner. The biggest koan is how to live a fully awakened life. For many people from East Asian cultures, Zen plays an especially important role in helping families express their continued love and respect for their ancestors, that is, departed relatives who are in the afterlife or awaiting rebirth. In fact, many homes in Japan have small altars called butsudan with photographs of deceased relatives, memorial tablets, and offerings of flowers, candles, and food. Each August, people from across Japan head home for Obon, the festival of the dead, when deceased relatives are said to return from the afterlife for the day. Obon is not a morbid occasion but a time of community and celebration because everyone, Buddhist teaching holds, will achieve enlightenment someday. It is interesting to note that in the Zen monastery, life is entirely organized around sitting in the meditation hall. But Zazen is also understood to be something more than this sitting. It is conceived of as a state of mind or being that extends into all activities. In fact, we hear practitioners say, work is Zazen, eating is Zazen, sleeping, standing, going to the toilet are all Zazen practice. In Soto Zen, the Japanese school practices extensively in the West, there is an especially strong emphasis on this moving Zen. Soto monastic life tends to be highly ritualized so as to promote concentration in all things. There is, for instance, a special elegant and mindful practice called oryoki for eating ritualized meals in the meditation hall. As we can see, Zen is something a person does. It's not a concept that can be described in words. Zen does not depend on words, for it has to be experienced in order to understand. In addition to what was mentioned, the essence of Zen Buddhism is that all human beings are Buddha and that all they have to do is to discover the truth for themselves. Hence, Zen sends us looking inside us for enlightenment. There is no need to search outside ourselves for the answers. This is because we can find the answers in the same place that we found the questions. And it must be noted that human beings can learn this truth by philosophizing or rational thought, nor by studying scriptures, taking part in worship rites and rituals, or many of the other things that people think religious people do. What one needs to do in Zen Buddhism is to control the mind through meditation and other techniques that involve mind and body, and to give up logical thinking and avoid getting trapped in a spider's web of words.
Good day everyone, I am Jillian Kate Pasonsong, your next reporter. Now I am going to talk about the 10 simple Zen rules that will change your life. Number 1 simple rule is that focus on one thing at a time. So for everything that you engage yourself in, make sure to focus entirely with it until you are done. So nobody that loses on focus whatever he is doing succeeds in that particular thing. So therefore, be focused and be consistent. Next in the line is do not rush into doing anything. So in everything that you do in your life, there are still processes. So in every processes, of course, you are going to encounter failures. So you must ready yourself with that failures. Do your best in every single thing that you do, and always remember that slow and steady wins the long race. Take that on your mind. Number 3 is always finish one task before the next one. So this rule is the things that we often neglect in our life, because nowadays multitasking are being hosted in our life. So multitasking giving us some advantages and disadvantages in our life. So try to do the very important things first. Always finish a particular task before heading on the next one. So this will help to reduce the accumulation of load on you. So next simple rule is always try to live in the moment. Do not always think what will happen on the next day, what will happen on that things that is not yet happening to you. Always focus on the things that is happening to you right now and try to live in that very moment. So next one is number 5, create time for leisure. On these very busy days of ours, we tend to stress ourselves fully on each day of our life. So with that, if you feel exhausted, let us try to find our coping space, coping time to release all the stress that we are having in every day, and try to unwind yourself, give yourself a break, so that later time will recharge yourself from all the stress that is happening to your life. Okay, number 6 is do things with humility and expect no reward. If you do anything, you must do it humbly and focus and gently. It is all beyond your heart, beyond your wills, and not expecting any reward. Okay, for the number 7, create time for some regular tasks. So this is the basic. In every day, try to do everything organized and accordingly. Try to eat on time. Try to do things on time. Okay, for our number 8, take good care of your body. Zen Buddhists believe that if you live, you have a purpose. So with that, if you're still alive, you have the very reason to do everything that you want, purposefully. Number 9, think very well before you act. So this is aligned to think before you click. So in every decision that you are going to make, let us take time to pause, so that all your decisions will be done on your mind and not based on your emotion. Number 10, finally, treat people the way you want to be treated. So this very simple rule is aligned to our golden rule, which is do not do unto others what you do not want others to do unto you. So that's all. Thank you.